Hi, Finn here, co-creator of The Weird Side and voice of Aiden. We hope that you've been enjoying the bonus content so far. We've got a fun mini episode coming up today. And just a note, to stick around to the end of the episode to hear a teaser for Welcome to the Brass Eagle, an upcoming fantasy fiction audio drama currently crowdfunding on Indiegogo. The show follows a teleporting tavern and the many dangers its inhabitants face across their travels. It features a full cast of voice actors you may recognise from shows like the Magnus Archives, the Sheridan Tapes, Beyond the Strata, and more. If you enjoy the trailer, the first episode can be found at brasseaglepod.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're also really excited to announce that we'll be featuring their first episode on our feed across November. Don't forget to check out their crowdfunding campaign at Indiegogo. That's all from us. Please enjoy the episode.
Good morning. Well, it's morning for me. I guess it should be good whatever time of day or night it happens to be when you're listening to this. It's been a while. I hope you've kept well. I've been pretty good. Thanks for asking. Okay, cards on the table. Kitty's been off with a particularly nasty flu over the last week and a half. We were supposed to be recording a whole bunch of studio introductions and background for next season, and we had the studio all fully booked out. But Kitty got ill. I'm not blaming her for not coming here. I mean, her work ethic is intense. I went round this morning with some soup to check in on her. Had she not been on a full fever trip, hopped up on cold medicine and thought it was the middle of the night, she'd be here. She's fine, don't worry. Zara said she'd pop over later today, and between us, we've got a good support system. Not that Kitty would ever admit to needing support, or soup brought to her. I've only really had David to talk to over the last little while, and I'll admit, I'm going a little stir crazy. So, I thought that I could just, let you peek behind the curtain a little bit. Take a look at the inner machinations of the weird side. The cogs and gears and whirligigs. I might as well use the studio time for something. We can chat about, I can chat to you about how we pick stories. Investigations, Kitty would call them. And that's probably the right word. By the time we've chosen a story, picked the desk-based research carcass clean, and have actually made it onto location, it is an investigation by any standard. But every investigation starts off as a story. Glowing eyes in the night, just waiting for us to turn our torch in its direction and reveal its true form. I'm Aiden Summers. Welcome to the Weird Side, behind the scenes edition. Every one of our investigations has its roots in a story, however ephemeral. An anecdote, something we read online or in print, an offhand comment overheard on the bus. There's no set procedure to discovering them, because everyone and everything has a story to tell if you listen. We definitely have more structure to our research process nowadays than we used to. Back in the days before our most recent season, The Weird Side was an entirely desk-based show. Kitty and I would research a story or a book and talk about it. It was safe. Monsters can't jump out at you from the pages of a book. At least, they never jumped out of any tomes in the university or public libraries we frequented. We'd read about a folktale, do some general research around it, around who was telling the story, and around what their motives behind telling it were. And we just run through our research on air. And then we decided to make our lives a whole lot more complicated. Head out of the lovely, cosy recording studio with its biscuits and tea and quiet and into the real world. Funnily enough, it took a heck of a lot of convincing to get Kitty on board. Out of the two of us, I bet you didn't think it was that way around. For us, the Marshall Street investigation was the big turning point. We'd never been out in the field. We'd actually never taken a story from page to investigation before. Nowadays, we check for potential roof leaks before setting up camp. But no matter the quality, that was where we got our first real start. Downloads jumped. People were actually listening to our show, and they were asking for more. I spent nearly 4 months of hinting at different investigations, locations, stories, and even once tried to turn a group holiday into a ghost hunting trip. Eventually, Kitty agreed. Not to the ghost hunting trip. We were down in Brighton for Pride and all had lots to do. I still think we could have fit it in, though. Anyway, I remember a miserly Wednesday evening, a sliver after 7:30 p.m. I was settling in for some cosy reading when there was a knock at the door. Fine, let's give it a shot. That's all she said, and that was that. Right, okay. Back to the topic du jour. How do we find a story? There are a few steps that we follow before that's Kitty and I, decide to take a story forward to investigate. Firstly, we need to set the stage. We're a UK-based show, but even across the myriad of small isles, the folkloric landscape is incredibly rich and diverse. It's ancient. A palimpsest of belief and stories from the Mesolithic deer mask of Starkar in Yorkshire to the Beaker people and construction of Stonehenge, to the arrival and ascendancy of the Celts, which is a little reductive and take the mighty oak tree as an example. Common as chips in British woodlands, often found standing alone in the middle of fields, but they are woven into the very fabric of British law and history. Oak groves have been linked to places of worship for centuries before the Roman conquest, and sometimes after. Buwelderware of the Mabinogion was created from oak flowers. And today we have veteran trees that are hundreds of years old, all across the UK, all shrouded in the mists of legend, all with stories to tell. The Knightwood oak in the New Forest, for example. In fact, point me towards an ancient oak tree, and I'd be surprised if there wasn't a legend of some king sheltering under its canopy, a rumour of the fair folk playing its branches, and its acorns, protectors placed on windowsills to shield inhabitants from lightning strikes and other dangers. Truth and myth intertwined. And there is so much out there yet to explore. I'm not sure we could cope with everything all at once. It's a lot. So we pick a topic, something to narrow our search. Often we choose an area, like the New Forest or Dartmoor, and then we carry out a process I like to call dowsing for stories. In itself, it's pretty simple. We cast our net out as far and wide as we can, and we look for stories. We scour books, research papers, newspaper articles, social media comment sections, anything and everything. It's all fair game. There's a lot of, how to put this? There's a lot of content out there, and not all of it's useful. Don't even get me started on the spread of conspiratorial misinformation and pseudo-archaeology telling you that they, mainstream archaeology that is, are covering up giant skeletons and Antarctic pyramids. Believe me, if it were real, archaeology would be getting a lot more funding. We are hunting for a story with ancient roots, but one that might have resurfaced in recent years, like the light spotted in the New Forest. That's what originally sent us out there. Because if the legend is in some way still around, it's still alive, and then that's our best shot at finding, well, okay, not to sound too conspiratorial, but that's our best shot at finding the truth. And there are so many people out there keeping old folktales alive, reminding us of traditions that could be lost if they weren't out there recording, archiving. I mean, only last week I had a great conversation with... Ooh, I forgot to put that on silent. Kitty would have my head. Oh, speak of the devil. Hey, Kitty, how you feeling?
Aiden,
Yeah?
I lost the soup.
You lost the soup?
I ate it. And there's no more.
Oh, okay. I haven't had the chance to make another batch yet.
Boo.
But I know Neon Zebra does a really good chicken udon.
Neon Zebra, you've been eating soup without me. Ha! Well, joke's on you, because I've been eating soup without anybody else.
Kitty, I'm recording...
Soup! Aiden, I'm dying here. I need fuel. Research doesn't research itself.
Research?
I'm onto something. Something big.
Oh?
But my brain isn't working, and to crack this case, I need soup.
What's the research on, Kitty? Don't tell me you tried to go to the library again.
I tried, but I couldn't find my recorder. And you can't go to a library without a recorder.
I've got your recorder here on the desk, but...
On my way.
No, Kitty, stay put, and Zara will bring you some chicken udon.
I will be with you as soon as I can get up without doing a backflip.
A backflip? Kitty, a backflip. Right. Just texting Zara. There we go. Sorry about that. Probably should have paused this. She'll be fine. Ah, nice. Zara's on her way. Where was I? Hunting for stories. So at this point, we'll have several local legends, stories, sightings, etc., but none will have been fully researched yet. We'll both pick 3 or 4 stories that particularly caught our eye. We'll have a roundtable discussion for each one, putting forth our case as to why we should look into each of them further. We'll try and get a spread of stories, and no 2 black dogs or raw ghosts, unless they have particularly good modern sightings and reports. But so far, there's been so much that's not happened yet. There'll often be 1 or 2 reports that catch our eyes, that we both find interesting, that are likely to result in a few good episodes. Ones whose sinews run strong through the local landscape. Are these ones? The Colt Pixie, the Red King, even Jenny Greenteeth, will mostly be split into research and investigation episodes, with our findings peppered throughout. And then we found other stories that crop up along the way. Though we didn't have time last season to investigate more of the one-off episodes. However, we are planning a couple of smaller side investigations that don't have enough evidence to flesh out a single episode by themselves. And that doesn't make them any less interesting, and they should be entertaining nonetheless. But you never know. We might be the ones who unearth something new and exciting. All told, it's not overly complex or groundbreaking by any means, and there's definitely plenty of folk who are far more thorough and thought out than we are. But, it seems to work for us. Oh gods, I've been chatting for quite a bit longer than I planned. Tell you what, I'm going to stop here, and hopefully Kitty, once she's had some more soup and is feeling a bit better, she can join us in talking about how we take a promising story to a full investigation. Oh, maybe we'll use an example from our upcoming season. Bury Pomeroy Castle. She'll want to be here for that. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this gave you a peek behind the curtain, and if you have any stories you'd like considered, do let us know.
In this episode of The Weird Side, Aiden Summers was played by Finn Creswell, and Catherine Moore was played by Alexandra M. Barrow. Additional sound effects by Zapsplat.com and Pixabay. The Weird Side was written, directed and produced by Finn Creswell and Alexandra M. Barrow. Sound editing by Finn Creswell. Dialogue editing by Finn Creswell and Alexandra M. Barrow.
They say it's called the Brass Eagle Tavern. Those few who have visited for themselves describe it as a bit large for a tavern, but otherwise unremarkable. It's a building just like any other, made of timber, stone, glass and thatch. But of course, there are rumours. They say that the building has a strange magic about it, untethered to any one location. It's a place that moves somewhere new with each fresh dawn. But that would be impossible. And yet, the rumours persist.
Presenting Welcome to the Brass Eagle, a 10-episode fantasy fiction audio drama about a teleporting tavern and the 3 strangers who come to inhabit it. Narrated by Mike LeBeau, and starring E.R. Hollins, Maddie Albrechts, and Connor Bushoven. Episode 1 is out now, and you can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. Crowdfunding begins on August 23rd. Visit bit.ly/BrassEaglePod to support our campaign and help make the full show a reality.